A very warm welcome to all of you. Myself Rajan Choudhary, Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, course instructor for the NPTEL MOOC course, Pavement, Construction and Technology, funded by Ministry of Education, Government of India. Our today's lecture will be under the module 9, and where we will discuss some of the salient aspects related to pavement markings, their composition and construction. So, at the very beginning, I would like to acknowledge the use of text, informations, graphs and images sourced from various textbooks, codal standards, journal articles, reports, newsletters and public domain searches. Now, coming to road markings. What are road markings? These are lines, specifically I can say these are lines, these are patterns, these may include words, except road signs. The road signs placed adjacent to any carriageway that are not included in it. So, it includes lines, patterns and words which are applied or attached to the carriageway or curbs or to objects within or adjacent to the carriageway. So, near or adjacent to the carriageway, and the purpose is for controlling, warning, guiding and informing the road users. So, these are some important features because of which road markings are used. So, they need to have a good control, they should warn, they should guide and inform the road users. So, we have these IRC codal specifications, IRC 35 code of practice for road markings. We have sections under special these MORTH specifications and road bridge works, which deals with the road pavement markings. So, if I put up together what are the key roles of roads or pavement markings, many times it may be called as pavement markings or road markings. So, the first key aspect can be put up as guide and control traffic on the highway. So, it should be able to guide the traffic moving on the roads, act as a psychological barrier, because it should be giving a psychological impression that if some marking is there, whether you need to cross it or you cannot cross it. So, it should be able to give you a psychological barrier, delineating traffic paths. These are very useful specifically in night times when the visibility is less, and providing lateral clearance, and this helps us to keep ourselves clear from any hazards for a safe movement. So, channelize pedestrians and cyclists into safe zones. This is also important because these are the vulnerable users. So, we try to channelize it, because in case when there is a good amount of pedestrians and bicyclists also present in the traffic composition. Ensure smooth orderly traffic flow and promote road safety. So, these are some of the key roles of road markings, or we can say pavement markings. Now, what does the MORTH specification says for it? That road markings may be executed using, how they are executed? They are using ordinary road marking paint, which can be used, or a hot applied thermoplastic compound, which is very commonly used, or reflectorized paint, or cold applied reflective paint. So, these are certain categories which are used specifically for road markings, and all of them should comply with the specific requirements which are stated under the MORTH specifications or the IRC 35 or in the contract document. The two commonly preferred materials for road markings include hot applied thermoplastic compound. This is very commonly used. The second one is solvent borne and waterborne road marking pavements. Specifically, these are done when some temporary works are there, they are preferred. And other specific materials for specific purposes we can use under road markings, cold applied plastics or preformed adhesive tapes. These are also used for some specific applications. We will discuss them. So, the first one, which is the most widely used, the thermoplastic compound, is a widely used pavement marking material on roadways. The material is a homogeneous, and what it consists of? It consists of homogeneous mixture of aggregate, pigment, resin and glass reflectorizing beads which are there. Its color is white or yellow. These are the two most common colors as specified in the drawings and definitely in your contract document also. Applied, when it is applied on the carriageway surface, it is in molten state. It adheres to the pavement surface and solidifies rapidly at ambient temperature, so that the surface can be available for the movement of the traffic. So, one requirement in terms of the composition or the proportion of different constituents of this particular one as per the MORTH guidelines is shown here, where you can see how much different percentages by weight of binder is there, glass beads is there, titanium dioxide, calcium carbonate and inert fillers, and along with the yellow pigments where it is used. So, key advantages of this thermoplastic compound is it dries quickly and highly durable. This is one key advantage which is there with it. Better nighttime visibility. This is, as I mentioned, during night time when the visibility is significantly reduced, these road markings are highly helpful. So, and we need to have a longer service life because they are continuously exposed to the abrasion by the tires as well as the presence of water may be there. So, they should be having a higher service life also along with a higher durability. Now, the reflectorizing glass beads which are specifically used in these thermoplastic compounds shall be transparent. Beads are used, here this picture has been shown. So, shall be transparent, colorless and free from milkiness, dark particles and excessive air intrusions. So, the inclusions are there. So, these are some specific requirement. You can see the gradation requirements of these glass beads are also mentioned as per the MORTH requirements. What should be the gradation? So, this is the material requirement is also clearly stated by our MORTH specifications. And under these beads, glass beads which are used, two types are most common one. The under this one, the type 1 is the one which is incorporated into the thermoplastic compound. So, it is incorporated and then the material is laid over the surface. The second is the one which are applied by spraying on the pavement surface. So, this is the second one which is applied on the pavement surface. So, these are the two common applications of glass beads. The glass bead shall conform to the gradation requirement as in the table for the respective types, specifically type 1 and type 2 is mentioned here. And specific requirements with these glass beads are minimum 70% true spares have to be there. Minimum refractive index, as we know, this gives an idea, this is a ratio of the speed of light when it travels in a vacuum and when it travels through a medium in that particular case. So, it says minimum refractive index of 1.5 must be free flowing without lumps or clusters, because when you are applying it as in the case of type 2, when you are applying it on the surface, it should be free flowing without any lumps or clusters. So, this is another important requirement with respect to the reflectorizing glass beads. Now, the other two type of the marking materials, road marking materials which is used is the solvent bond and the water bond marking paints which are there. Now, these are quite old one, they have been used from very olden times and they are mainly used specifically, the purpose is they are used nowadays mainly used for longitudinal lines in temporary work zones. So, as I mentioned, nowadays because we have very durable and the with a long service life, we have these thermoplastic compounds. So, they are nowadays more preferred, but compared to that particular one, if we require it for some temporary work zones or for marking required for shorter durations, we use these water bond or the solvent bond road marking pavements. Now, in these two, water bond and the solvent bond, again we prefer to go for water bond one because they are eco-friendly and safer for workers, easy to handle and clean up. This is another requirement, and dries faster, so the road can be opened up for the traffic sooner in that particular case. And compared to some of the challenges which are there in the solvent bond, because we consider them to a relatively more hazardous to the environment and they take relatively a longer time to dry up. So, it takes longer time to open up them for the traffic. Now, the two specific categories, one is the cold applied plastics cap we call it, and the other is preformed adhesive tapes which is there. So these are two specific categories which are mainly used for some specific purposes. So when this cap is there, cold applied plastics, they are often preferred for colored pavement markings over paints and thermoplastics. If you want to have some colored pavement markings, say you can see this is a cycling track which is there. So in this particular case, a dedicated preferred colored pavement marking is there, we can go for these cold applied plastics. They are highly durable, definitely they are highly durable, retain the color for a longer period of time, and their luminance is also good enough. And in addition to this particular one, they are ideal for audible raised edge line markings. So edge line markings can be with these cold applied plastics. So as soon as it moves over it, the audible sound is created because of the slight bump which is there, and so it warns you that you are on the carriageway edges. So cold applied plastics can be applied in various ways with superior finish. Definitely it has a much superior finish, requires no large equipment and easily transported in a medium sized van trailer. So you can see these are some applications for cold applied plastics. Now the other category is preformed adhesive tapes. These are again some specific applications, and we have the ASTM codal guidelines also existing for them. So they come in continuous rows of various sizes, and typically they last for having a life of around 3 to 6 months. So do not require any, again they do not require any specific equipment, neither they require any curing and drying period as you have in case of thermoplastic paints or in case of waterborne or solvent borne pavement marking materials. They have higher initial cost comparatively to the other categories of the pavement marking materials, but offer longer service life in high service areas. So when the traffic is very high, specifically when some intersections are there, so in that particular case where it is difficult to have these the other paints to be regularly put up. So in that particular case we can go for these preformed adhesive tapes. So it is but offer longer service life in high traffic areas, making them more suitable for locations needing frequent replacements of markings, as well as for object markings also it is used. So when high traffic is there and where it is difficult for the frequent other these waterborne or thermoplastic compounds laying of markings through them, then we can go for the preformed adhesive tapes, which are bit costlier, but under these conditions they survive good. Now in these markings which are to be provided on a pavement surface, there are certain aspects which needs to be taken care. One, or we can say the features which needs to be taken care. One is color pattern of the markings. What should be the color of these markings? It may be white color, yellow color. So the color pattern of the markings, visibility related to speeds, because it will be provided on rural sections, urban sections and sections with having different speeds. So they should be clearly visible in advance to the drivers. So it is the aspect which is related to the visibility of the road markings. Retro reflectivity, because this is very important in night time with the light from the headlamp, the driver is able to perceive these markings. So the retro reflectivity part of these markings is very important, and the external factors which play the traffic, the presence of water, the other external factors also play important role in the overall performance of these road markings. So these are some of the important features related to road marking performance. Now let us look to the color pattern of the road markings. So the most common you might have seen is the white color one. Basically, why the white color one? Because it is used because of high visibility and contrast with the road surface, because most we have in bituminous pavements a blacktop surface is there. So these white markings gives a good visibility and a strong contrast with respect to the surface. When it comes to yellow color, many a times road markings with yellow colors are also provided. So their specific some purpose is there. It says used for longitudinal markings, longitudinal along the length of the carriageway where crossing is prohibited. So, is prohibited that you want to give a direction or you want to give an indication to the user that here the crossing is prohibited, so as to I can indicate through this particular one in terms of overtaking, in terms of parking or other traffic control purposes are there. So, these are some indications which I give by providing yellow markings. Then we have the blue color pattern which is there, which is for specific purposes, non-conventional applications I can call it, because they are for special purposes. One can be, it can be for public transportation facilities also there. So, if it is a bus lane is there, in many cities you might have now seen the bus rapid transit corridors are there, BRT corridors are there. So, these are dedicated corridors for movement of bus or for the public transportation facilities. So, which may include three-wheelers also, rickshaws also. So, if a dedicated corridor is provided for that particular one, then it can be through blue color patterns also. And in the bus lanes, usually marked across the intersections, blue markings highlight the lane is specifically meant for buses and other vehicles should not stop or drive in this particular one. So, this gives a special applications and for special uses mainly concentrated to public transportation facilities. Then we have the green color pattern. This is another one. This is specifically to distinguish between the non-motorized traffic. So, in the non-motorized we have mainly our bicycles and pedestrians are there. So, green markings are used to distinguish bicycle and other non-motorized traffic facilities at intersections. Green background prioritized cyclists and pedestrians in the crossing the road. So, this is, you can see these some pics are shown where these green markings are there. So, they give priority to the cyclists and pedestrians. When the motorized and non-motorized vehicles share the same carriageway, and this is a very common phenomenon, the green background lanes are preferred. In that case, a dedicated lane, because that will be a lane dedicated where you have a good amount of share with the bicyclist. So, also green cycle boxes are provided in dedicated non-motorized lanes, because there in that case these are the boxes where they can especially meant for your bicyclist. Then the other one is your red color pattern. So, red markings are used specifically at hazardous locations. The red color itself indicates a similar feature to alert road users to potential danger. So, if that is there, we can get an idea there is some potential danger is there. So, there may be some precaution has to be there. So, they are recommended at hazardous intersections and areas of pedestrian vehicle conflict, where more chances are there that some conflict may arise between your motorized vehicle and specifically the pedestrian movement. We can provide the red color patterns there. So, the color of these markings, which are typically your white color, yellow color, green and red, are again used for specific purposes. Then as the second criteria which is important in respect of it is the visibility. It should have a good visibility during the day and night time. So, this is again not only daytime, night time also it should have a good visibility. This serves as an important aid to drivers, specifically on unlit roads. So, in night time roads, it is unlit roads where road visual cues are absent. So, you do not have those side cues available with you. So, that is the most challenging part. So, in this particular one, the road markings are the one which gives you a good guidance specifically. So, as a general requirement, driver should able to detect guidance markings from a distance corresponding to at least 2 seconds of travel time. So, at least 2 seconds before that particular one, it should be whatever driving speed you are moving. So, considering that driving speed, it should give a distance when you are able to visualize it. So it says to at least 2 seconds of travel time. So, from that particular one, using my speed of travel or the design speed of the road, I can work out what should be the minimum per view distance for a driver to react. So then only, because if I give a particular color or if I give a particular road marking, that should be at least visible at a distance of, here it says that if this design speed is say typically 100 km/h. So the purview distance considering 2 seconds of travel time is around 56 meters. So this much ahead it should be visible to the driver. So the visibility of road markings improves with greater line thickness. Whatever width you are providing, if that is greater, it increases. A higher mark to gap ratio, you can see a length is, this is the length which is marked and this is the gap which is there. So if I go for a higher mark to gap, then again I increase the visibility. The third is higher retro-reflective luminance which is there. So this plays a and this should be having this should be durable enough, that is it should be able to provide us during its service life. The required luminance, retro-reflective luminance should be available. Hence wider pavement markings combined with higher retro-reflectivity, so that can be provided with the use of your glass beads, are adopted to ensure better line detection by drivers consistent with the roadway design speed. So this is what is quite important. Now, as mentioned, retroreflection in pavement markings is mainly achieved through incorporating the glass beads, and these are partially embedded marking material and also applied externally during placement, which we discussed the two types of glass beads, one which can be incorporated also and which can be applied externally during the placement. The quality, we have seen the gradation is important, the specifications of these glass beads are important. So it says the quality and size of beads significantly affects the retroreflective as they return headlight back to the driver. So this is an important feature which needs to be looked for the glass beads, which play an important role in the retroreflectivity of the markings. Under wet conditions, standard glass beads are less effective. Why? Because when a thin film of water is there which comes in between the bead and the light, so it scatters. So that's why it says, because a thin water film scatters light before it enters the bead, making markings nearly invisible at night. So it becomes more challenging when you are driving in night and it is raining. So that's why it is always preferred you go for beads typically of a higher size. So it says that minimum 1 mm sizes of beads should be used, these one, so that they can perform better on slightly wet surfaces. Why is there? Because their higher profile allows to break the water film to a certain extent. So higher profile allows them to protrude through the water films and maintain some amount of retroreflectivity. So these are again important key requirements which is in terms of the visibility. Now, as I mentioned, there may be other factors also which influences the performance of these road parking pavement materials, and what are those ones? It can be the roadway surface over which it is getting applied, how much amount of traffic is there, and the environmental conditions, how regularly it is raining. The environmental conditions play an important role. So prior to application, whenever an application has to be made, first of all the surface has to be cleaned and dry to ensure to go for the application of these road marking materials. And what is to be checked is specifically which needs to be checked are the material composition as per the stated guidelines, application process, the right process for application machines. As mentioned, there are certain specific machines are required when you are putting up these thermoplastic compounds, so as to go for a uniform application. Roadway surface is there, what is the current state of the surface of the road, and presence of immediate traffic, because you need some curing time. If immediately traffic starts flying over it, you don't get the good performance from those pavement markings. Now, as it is always mentioned, what is desired from the road pavement markings, the MORTH states that the finished road marking shall be free from irregularities. Along the sides and the edges, there should not be in such any streaks which should be there. Aligned parallel to the carriageway, they should be straight, aligned parallel to the carriageway, there are transverse markings also, but when longitudinal markings are there, they should be properly aligned, and shall have a level uniform surface free from streaks, because it may lead to some kind of even the retention of water is also there. So we will prefer a one which is level, uniform and surface free from streaks. So some of the key requirements of these road markings after laying is that the marking shall remain firmly bounded to the pavement surface and not lift up specifically under freezing conditions. When the temperature goes down, it should not happen that it loses the bond with the surface. The strip shall not be slippery when wet. This is again a concern, because they are wide enough. So specifically for two-wheelers, when they move over it, it should not become the surface should not become slippery. After application and curing, stripes shall resist deformation and discoloration under traffic loads, because that will be there for surface temperatures up to 60 degrees centigrade. So because these are the average maximum temperatures which can be experienced on a road surface, so that is why 60 degrees is referred here. The marking shall withstand contact with sodium chloride, calcium chloride and oil drippings from vehicles without deterioration. So these chemical agents may be there, because of which again they should not get deteriorated. The stripes shall retain their original dimensions and positions, they should not get distorted. The material shall possess sufficient cold ductility, specifically challenged when temperatures are low, to accommodate normal pavement movements, because there may be pavement movements also, specifically there may be some shrinkage may be there. So in that particular case, without chipping or cracking. So these are some specific requirements from the markings after the construction. Now what are the different types of markings? Specifically are classified into 7 categories. The 7 broad categories under which the road markings are classified, and they are classified on the basis of the placement of markings with regard to the vehicular movement, and also based on the functions of these markings. So the 2 criteria are there. If one is the placement with regard to the vehicular movement, in which direction, if it is along the vehicular movement, I can call it as a longitudinal marking. If it is across that particular one, there may be another one. And the second is what function it is serving. So on the basis of these, the classifications are made, and there are the 7 main categories which are there is longitudinal marking, transverse marking, hazard marking, block marking, arrow marking, directional marking and facility marking. So let us first see to the longitudinal marking. Here they are generally provided along the traffic movement, as the term itself says, longitudinal marking. And what is the basic main purpose of them is to guide drivers in forward movement and to restrict overtaking at hazardous locations. So they give you that you move within this particular one, and they guide you to move in a particular direction. On multi-lane roads, lane boundaries marked longitudinally help prevent side sweep and head-on collisions. So specifically, if there is a 2 lane in this particular one moving in opposite directions, these lane markings gives you that you have to move in this particular width, and preferably to avoid the side sweeps in that case. Longitudinal markings again includes broken lines, single and double continuous lines and continuity lines, like we have on the edges. Continuous lines are there to mark the pavement edges, so continuity lines are there. Broken lines may be crossed during forward movements, because if you have some overtaking has to be there, you can see in this particular one the broken lines will be crossed. Now then in this particular one there may be continuous, and the continuous one may be a single or double line. So there may be continuous longitudinal markings which may consist of single and double lines, which that means they should not be crossed under normal conditions. So if I have double continuous lines, that definitely emphasizes compliance and reinforce that they should never be crossed. So I can have, if I doesn't want any overtaking to happen, double these longitudinal lines indicates that they should not be ever crossed. And is specifically when there is a single, then it prohibits to cross that particular line. A continuous yellow longitudinal markings indicates a strict prohibition, and as I mentioned, when you put up the yellow ones, so then it further emphasizes that this is a prohibitory one and shall not be straddled by the vehicle. So, vehicle should not go out of it. So, they are taking one wheel on the other end and keeping one wheel. So, that should not happen with this particular one. Then you have the transverse marking. So, this is one type of marking. Markings provided across the carriageway specifically, and the purpose is for traffic control, and they are again in the form of broken lines, single and double continuous lines. They comes with the stop markings and give way markings. So, along with it we have the markings which are for the stop and give way in this case, and they all comes under the category of transverse markings. And when these are there, they are also accompanied by the traffic signs. In our next lecture we will be discussing about the traffic signs also. So, here you can see this is a double transverse line is there, double, and this is a single transverse line is there. Now, these are stop markings. So, specifically these are meant to indicate that here one vehicle needs to stop. These are transverse marking. So, a stop line marks the point beyond which vehicle shall not proceed. So, it marks the point. It is typically provided at traffic signals, pedestrian crossings, and at minor road approaches. You can see this is a minor road approach. There this line is transverse line is provided, and so minor road approaches merging with major roads, and in conjunction with stop sign. So, along with that a stop sign also needs to be provided as per the, and the features where these needs to be located, all these are to be followed as per our IRC 35 guidelines. Two specific patterns about these ones stop lines are, or stop markings are there. One is single stop line. A single stop line shall be provided at traffic signals and before pedestrian crossings. If some pedestrian crossings are there, before it needs to be, it shall be solid wide transverse line, usually 200 mm wide on urban roads and 3 mm wide on rural roads, because you have higher speeds specifically. So, this is when it is a single one, and then the double stop line is used at junctions controlled by stop signs. So, there it means that the traffic has to be controlled, has to stop there, and is not used merely as a warning. It should not be used as just as a warning, as in the case of your single stop line. So, where the give way marking is more appropriate. If that is the case, it is better to give the give way marking, which we will discuss in the upcoming slide. So, it consists of two continuous lines. So, you can see these are two continuous lines, 200 mm wide, each line 200 mm wide, is spaced 300 mm apart, and shall be supplemented by a stop sign. It should be a stop sign, and the word message stop, you can see this is again on the carriageway. So, the stop sign marking with a double line implies, and what it implies here, you can say a stop a message is there along with the double stop line is there. What it implies? Every vehicle shall stop at the transverse line before entering a major road from a minor road. So, every vehicle, that means compulsory every vehicle should stop, and they should not proceed past the line if doing so would require any traffic on the major road to alter its speed. So, that should not happen. They can only enter into it when it does not lead to any disruption to the through major road traffic in that case. So, this is when we have these double stop lines which are provided, transverse lines which are provided. Then the other one, transverse one, can be a give way one. So, this particular one marking consists of two broken lines laid side by side. Again here, each made up of 600 mm line segments with 300 mm of gaps. These are the standard requirements as per codal requirements of IRC. So, the lines 200 mm wide, spaced 300 mm apart, are placed across minor roads at intersections where they are not controlled by any stop signs, traffic signals or police. When that control is not there, so we have a symbol also. This is a marking for our give way sign. We have a signboard also. So, these lines are supplemented by a hollow triangle which is shown here, and these are with standard dimensions. It is not, they all have the standard dimensions which should comply as per the IRC 35 requirements. Approach marking and a roadway give way signs, along with that a roadway sign is also there. So, this is give way markings can be provided Then comes the hazardous markings. So hazard markings specifically are there to guide the traffic and at specific locations, especially at merging and diverging points, because when the traffic is getting is merged or the traffic is getting diverging. So at that particular point we will try to provide, we will always emphasize to provide hazardous marking, prohibit crossovers and deflect vehicles away from hazardous locations. So these are, so that's why they are called as hazard markings. And what they normally includes, they includes the chevron markings, they include the diagonal markings, hatch and prohibitory markings which are there. So these are the special categories which are included. So being provided ahead of diverging and merging areas and hazardous locations require strict compliance. So they should be strictly compliant because they indicate some hazard is there and shall always be accompanied by appropriate signs, because that hazard should be known to you. So they give an idea, some hazard, you are approaching towards a hazard, and this signboard will give you an information what kind of hazard is there. So the preferred one are commonly used on are diagonal and chevron markings are there, used to demarcate the neutral area. This helps you. You can see in this particular case, this is here. So in this case you can see there are two traffics which are getting merged. So two lanes which are getting merged here. So this is the one where you have the chevron markings. You can see in this particular case they are getting diverged. The two are these two are getting diverged. In this particular case, when they are traveling in this direction, they are getting merged. So these are the chevron markings which helps you, and they provide specifically, they gives us the neutral area at the rows of channelizing island. So you can see this is a channelizing island, at the nose of it, it gives a neutral island, and that helps you to avoid the vehicle collisions, specifically with the curved nose. So this is a wonderful advantages with these chevron markings. Now specifically when does the diagonal markings comes, you can see here is the diagonal markings. Now in this diagonal markings the traffic is moving in opposite directions. So this diagonal marking is provided. Diagonal marking shall be provided where traffic flows on either side move in opposite directions. So you can see here it is moving in this direction, here it is moving. So then we are going to provide, and as mentioned, there are specific requirements with respect to the width of this, with respect to the length of the diagonal marking, with respect to the gap between these ones. So all need to go as per the codal requirements. Just a basic information is there. This is provided specifically when the traffic are moving in the in opposite directions. Now we have block markings. These are specifically like for zebra crossing for pedestrians, triangular and checkered marking is there for speed breakers. So and even the giveaway symbol which is there, which we have seen this kind of giveaway symbol which was there, painted in blocks on carriageway are classified, they comes under the block markings, and depending upon the size and different uses as per IRC 35, they are abbreviated in different manners. I can give you some of the examples have been mentioned here in the table. What abbreviation, say BM01, so this is block marking 01, this is a, what type of it is a rectangular block, the length of it, the width of it, the gap in between, color white, and this is what it shows. So this is a block, rectangular block marking pattern which has been mentioned. So similarly another one where you can see this is the gap, this particular one here the length is more, so this is another pattern. So then BM071, this is for a giveaway symbol which is there. So again, what is the length, what is the width, gap in between is not mentioned, what color is to be there. So these are standard dimensions and patterns are already prescribed and their details have been available. So they need to go as per the specifications. So you can see a block marking maybe in terms of a cycle symbol also which is there. Then we have the arrow markings specifically which are painted on the carriageways, and they gives us the mandatory direction of traverse for the users specifically and are classified as arrow markings. And again some of the examples here like shown, if it's a straight arrow which can be there, another one is a left arrow, this is the another one, and again the dimensions are shown, right arrow, what the length is to be there, what the width is to be there. It can be a straight and left arrow which is shown here. So these are specifically, they are provided on the carriageway, and they gives us the mandatory directions of travels for the road users or for the drivers, and they comes under the category of arrow marking. Now in the directional markings, specifically they are able to convey the directional related instructions to drivers. So I can say, if I want to convey, you need to stop, you need to slow down, you need to have a speed limit, they can be grouped under the directional markings. You can, and these are some of the pics which shows like, and again they are abbreviated as per their different requirements which are there in terms of their width, size, color, what they are trying to indicate. So like DM, the directional marking, DM01 represents for information stop, and what is the width, what is the height, color, this is to be provided. So here you need to stop, that information is given by directional. We can have information related to slow down, we need to have a keep clear, specifically when some school zones are there, or if there is some no entry is there. So these are directionals which gives you information that directional instructions are there, that you need to stop or you need to slow down, you have to have a control over your speed limits. And the last one is your facility markings which is there. So which gives specifically informations related to word messages, where the information is given through word messages for buses, cyclists and persons with disabilities. So there may be one, if a bus lane, dedicated bus lane is there, it can be written as a bus lane. So it is a facility, it is a bus lane. So it can be mentioned in this particular manner. And when disabled, there may be a particular lane which can be there for disabled people, so that can be also marked, and a dedicated lane for taxis also, you might have seen it many a times on airports. So these are all different abbreviations which are marked under the facility related markings. So these are some of the basic informations related to the different type of pavement markings and their construction which we do for the road construction. Thank you so much.